welcome to DudeCast TV. I'm your host, Norman Dexter. I'm a dude who's going to talk about some shit. So, on this episode, I want to focus on some extremely important aspects of my life. Some of you may be interested, some of you may be able to relate to it because these two aspects are on bodybuilding and personal training. Two things that take up the vast majority of every single day of my life. Now, why are these things so important? Well, one is my job and one is my main hobby. I love both dearly. The only job I've ever had, actually, has been as a personal trainer. I've been doing it for over 10 years. I'll be 30 this year, and I've been doing it since before I even entered my 20s. And I've always had a love for the human body, what it's capable of. I'm not going to go into a full history of how I got into it. That's a story for another time. But bodybuilding in particular, to me, is an art form and a lifestyle that fits very well for myself in particular. And I'll go into my various interests, what it's like being a personal trainer, and what I perceive to be a valuable personal trainer or a good personal trainer, because there are a lot of tropes associated with really shit personal trainers and really shit bodybuilders. Now, I've only ever competed in one show. I did well. I qualified for nationals. I won my class. But ultimately, I look back at it and I think it was shit, and I want to do better. Whether or not I'll compete again, I don't know. But I always identify as a bodybuilder because I do engage in all of the bodybuilder routines. It is a sport that I thoroughly enjoy, and I personally believe you do not have to compete regularly to be one. There are plenty of people who have never competed who have bigger social media presences than most actual competitive bodybuilders, even more so than the best in the world. So bodybuilding to me is a sport and an art form that expands beyond just competitive bodybuilding. Now, I want to start with just one of those and then segue on into the other, because I think it's really important. I'll start with the bodybuilding aspect because that portion can segue into why personal training fits so well for me and why I feel uniquely qualified to work with people in their own personal health. So the bodybuilding aspect. I've talked many times in previous episodes on this podcast about my need for a routine and how I always aspire to incrementally change and improve aspects of my routine in my day-to-day life. So, as an example, this morning I woke up, I made myself some coffee, and I had my first meal. I'll have 6 or 7 meals in a day. Now, this is partially because I'm just starving and I need to eat. But this has been a slow process that has gained momentum over time. It used to be extraordinarily difficult for me to even eat 5 meals in a day, and I was force-feeding myself to get to that point. Little did I know, I was trying to push too hard, too fast. What that means is I was eating too much for my body to adequately absorb and use. And over the years, I've learned a lot of, we'll call them symptoms, of going a little too fast, a little too hard. I'll give you a very simple one. So I effectively eat the same thing every day, almost. About 85-90% same thing every day. I'll cycle between a few basic meals. As an example, this morning, almost every morning, I'll have a cup of coffee, a little bit of lactose-free whole milk, maybe an ounce, 2 ounces tops, and just black coffee. That's it. And so I'll start with that, and while I'm drinking that, I'm getting ready for my morning, whether I work or not. And I will take 1 serving of Carb Master vanilla yogurt, and I'll have, which is about 70 calories, and I'll have 1 packet of the brown sugar and cinnamon cream of wheat. Mix it up, eat that. That's meal number 1. Meal number 2 is one of 2 things. It's either 8 ounces of turkey burger with 1/4 uncooked cup. Obviously, I cook it, but I measure it with 1/4 uncooked. Steamed jasmine rice with only rice added, or with only salt added, rather. And I'll have that with Frank's Red Hot. The other version, or the other meal rather, that I'll have will be 5 ounces of organic grass-fed beef, again, in the form of a burger or a patty. And I'll have that with the same amount of rice I just mentioned with the turkey. And I'll go back and forth between those two depending on how I feel. While I'm drinking that, with the turkey meal, I'll have a 0 sugar Gatorade. And with the beef meal, I'll have a lemonade ice sparkling water. It's just what I like. But I always have those drinks with those meals. You see where I'm going with this whole routine here? I am very much a creature of habit. So I will have 2 of those turkey meals and 2 of those beef meals in a day. So that's 4 meals, and then my yogurt makes it 5. My 6th meal on days that I work out is a packet of that same cream of wheat and then the brown sugar cinnamon oats packet. I'll have that, just throw some water in, throw it in the microwave. I'll have that with my protein shake, which is just 2 scoops of protein powder, whey isolate being the main ingredient in those protein powders, usually vanilla and chocolate together, just like the mix. And then I'll have that with just water, a little bit of salt, and 2 scoops of creatine, which is roughly 2 grams of creatine. And I'll have that after every workout with those packets of oatmeal and cream of wheat. And so that's my post-workout currently. Again, this changes all the time, but I stay consistent for weeks and months on end. And every now and then I'll have a cheat meal or what have you, but it just replaces one of these 6 or 7 meals rather than just screw the pooch and say fuck it for the day. So I will replace one of these meals with some cheat meal that is very similar. So most of these meals that I'm talking to you about, with the exception of the cream of wheat, rice, yogurt, and protein shake meals, so these beef and turkey meals are roughly 500, 530 calories. So if I go to Culver's and I get a double butter burger with cheese, and only that, no fries, no shake, no custard, no nothing, just the burger, the double burger, it's about 730 calories, give or take. And so if I have a cheat meal and I get that, it's only a 200 calorie difference. It's not a big deal. It's a pretty solid meal replacement. Good quality meat, high protein, high fat. So I'm changing out some of the calories and carbohydrate, because it's just the bun, for fat in that case, which is fine. You're able to do that. It's one thing you can do as a treat. You can maintain your sanity, and sometimes it's really useful when you're trying to cut weight to just kind of jolt the system, if you will. Very layman's terms to go about that, but I'm not going to get into that here. I'm not trying to explain to people how cutting weight and cheat meals work in this video. But those are my normal, my staple meals, and I will cycle through those throughout the week. Now, I said 6 or 7, but I just listed out was 5 or 6. So the 6th one that I'll just have another one of those turkey or beef meals depending on what I cooked for the day, which, by the way, I cook everything either the night before or the morning of. Today, for instance, I did it the morning of because I had time. I'm off this morning, and I don't work until later this afternoon. So the last meal I'll have, there's this ramen that I enjoy, and it's just a microwave ramen, but it's a different one than most of the ones you see at the store because this one is not fried. It is air dried. What that means is the noodles are not fried in oils before packaging. They are air dried, okay? So that means they are lacking the oils, and they are not covered in oils that are put into superheats. Now, in addition to that, it comes with packets inside of it that you can add to your mixture, including an oil packet that I throw away every time and never use. What I do is I put the noodles in a bowl. I add a little bit of Frank's Red Hot seasoning, a little bit of paprika, a little bit of salt, and a little bit of pepper. Mix it up in water, throw it in for 5 minutes, boom, it's done. And I'll usually have that with about 10 ounces of beef, and that is about, if I'm not mistaken, it's about 950 calories for that meal. So that's usually my last meal of the night because it tastes really good. I thoroughly enjoy it, and it's a huge amount of calories right before bed, and I can always finish it. The way my calories work out for the day, anywhere around 3,000, 3,400. And I'll also have a full sugar Gatorade or 2 during my workout on days that I work out. Currently, I'm in a more of a maintenance stage. I'm not trying to gain or lose weight, about 194, 195 pounds, depending on the day. And that's where I currently am. Now, I did all of that from memory. That's bodybuilding. That is the essence of bodybuilding. A true bodybuilder can tell you exactly what he or she eats throughout the day without looking at a list, without going and looking at a reference point. To a point, I can tell you exactly what I did for workouts. I know what workout muscle group I did, or what muscle group I worked out, rather, each day of the week. I can tell you that easily. I can tell you all the exercises I do. Yes, because I'm doing the same exercises every week. But I keep a workout log so I can see how many reps I did for the weight that I did previously, so I can go up 1 rep the next week. So I can go up 5 pounds the next week. So I can make small incremental progress every single week, and in some cases every single day, because sometimes I'm changing up how I'm eating very, very slightly. All right, so say I'm cutting. Well, then I cut the milk out of what I'm having in my coffee, and I just have black coffee. All right, I will no longer have the 950 calorie meal at the end of the night with the ramen and the beef. Instead, I'll still have the ramen and the beef, but I'll have 5 ounces instead of 10 ounces of beef, as an example. I'll have the G. Hughes sugar-free barbecue sauce with that meal. I'll have soy sauce with my beef meals. I'll have Frank's Red Hot with my turkey meals. All of those are very, very low calories. So I keep those when I cut. I don't get rid of them. But I will bring down the calories a little bit in small ways that I can. For instance, instead of having a full sugar Gatorade while I work out, I'll have a 0-calorie Gatorade while I work out. Instead of having the oatmeal after I work out with the cream of wheat and the protein shake, I'll just have the protein shake. Okay? So there's very, very small changes I can make. And instead of doing 0 cardio, I'll do cardio 3 times a week, 4 times a week. Just walking, nothing crazy. And I'll lose a couple pounds over the course of a month because I know my body and I know what I'm doing. And again, this is because I've developed a routine for myself. I've developed something that involves a day-to-day methodical practice that I am always trying to improve the efficacy of. I am always trying to improve how I go about things in my day-to-day life when it comes to bodybuilding. I want to get bigger, I want to get stronger, but I don't want to get fatter. I want to stay as lean as possible. Now, one of the things that I've learned over the years is you cannot get bigger, you cannot get stronger without putting on a little bit of chub. It's really important, particularly because I'm a natural athlete. And I'll talk a little bit about PEDs, performance-enhancing drugs, a little later, as well as why I do not use them and why I will never use them. But the whole idea is to get incrementally better over time. And these small little victories every single day, every single week, every month, every year, at the end of it, you feel a sense of purpose and fulfillment in your day-to-day, even if you're not going to compete in a show. Even if you're not trying to get those 6-pack abs, even if you're not trying to go for a 405-pound bench press or a 500-pound squat, whatever it is. You get these small increases and these small little victories every single day, and that's what appeals to me. I love creating a more and more perfect routine every day. And when I fuck up, I feel it. I feel like shit. Yesterday was Easter. I had Easter brunch with my parents and my family like I normally do, and I ate food that I normally don't for the first time in a month. And I passed out almost immediately. I was so tired after eating all of that food. I remember exactly what I ate. Scalloped potatoes, corn pudding, turkey with my G. Hughes barbecue sauce, a fruit bowl, sweet potato casserole, a dinner roll, and what was the last thing? And 4 deviled eggs. All right, and I had all of that with just water, and then I had a little bit of unsweetened tea. So, went and passed out immediately. Felt like shit. Felt like I was pregnant. It was terrible. It was bloated, felt terrible. But I enjoyed the meal. And then I get up, I have some black coffee, and then I went and cut grass for over an hour. When I finished, right back onto my normal eating schedule, and that just replaced a single meal for the day. No idea what the calories were, no idea what the fats, carbs, and proteins were, but I have a general idea based on my overall knowledge of nutrition and the profile of different foods. So when I went to go record my food last night for what I had for the day, I put that in there. And I guesstimated that that one meal was about 1,500 calories. I think I said that it was probably about 50 grams of fat, about 200 grams of carbohydrates, and about 70 or 80 grams of protein, give or take, based on the portions that I took. Now, is that right? The calories are probably pretty close, but I have no idea if the fat and protein are close. The carbohydrate may be overshot a little bit. Don't know, don't really care. The idea is you can do that every now and then, and if you log it, in my case, it's helpful because you're like, okay, it's been this long since I've really fucked up. But again, it was a fuck up by choice. I knew the food was going to be there. I brought food with me just in case I was like, no, this is fine. I can get enough protein in this. I can get enough carbohydrates in this. I don't need to do a meal replacement where everybody else is eating this food and then I'm eating some bullshit that I packed. I try not to be that person. I was when I was much younger and I can't fucking stand it. Please don't be that person. Enjoy the holidays with your family. It's important. Also, don't be the fuck that warms your tilapia up in the microwave at work. That's just that is on par with pedophilia. It's just terrible. Don't do that. Don't be that person. Anyway, as you can see, I'm drinking a Monster. And this is on topic because a lot of people are like, well, if you're so concerned about your health, why are you drinking that shit? Well, first off, this is one of the white Monsters. It's one of the zero sugar ones. There's about 10 calories in this entire can. And most of those calories are from sugar alcohols. Okay, erythritol in particular. All right, and if I go to look at this, carbonated water, citric acid, erythritol is the third ingredient. Now, that is a sugar alcohol. For those of you who don't know, there's a hilarious story on Reddit about these two individuals who discovered sugar-free gummy bears, and they ate as many of them as they could because they technically were sugar-free, and gummy bears are nothing but sugar, and so they thought it was 0 calories, which, in essence, they were kind of right. Because sugar alcohol goes straight through you. We don't have the enzymes to break them down to absorb them into our system. So you quite literally shit out sugar alcohol. This is why your sugar-free gums with xylitol and sorbitol and so on can be very, very low, if not 0 calorie. Now, there is some calorie content because they do add a little bit of dextrose or maltodextrin or what have you to them, and there is a little bit of calories to that. So if you have a whole pack of gum in a day, that might be 100 calories that you're not accounting for. So watch for that. It sneaks up on you if you have enough of those pieces. Plus, companies are not required to put anything at or above 5 calories, as they don't have to put 3 calories, they don't have to put 4 calories. If it is below 5 calories, they can put 0 calories on that label legally. So just pay attention to your ingredients and look what is actually 0 calorie or not. But back to the point, erythritol being a sugar alcohol, it will go straight through me. I will poop it out. It's not a big deal. This is one of the only things, aside from a little bit of Splenda every now and then and some tea, this is one of the only things that will go into me that will be shat right out, okay? The Splenda in particular will be peed out because that one you do absorb, but there's no calorie content to it and your kidneys will just excrete it through your urine. Now, this, people will say, that's so bad for you, that's so bad for you. No, not really. This sweetness comes from the erythritol, and I can identify every single ingredient in here. In particular, there's one people freak out about, which is, where is it? L-carnitine, tartrate, caffeine sucralase, benzoic acid, niacinamide, decalcium pentatenate. Where are you? Acetylphane potassium, inositol. Oh, they got rid of it. There used to be taurine in here, and people would always look at taurine and say, oh, there it is. It's up the top. I missed it. Taurine. It's the fourth ingredient. What is taurine? Taurine is an amino acid. But people will look at that and not know what it is. They'll look at all the chemical labels and not know what they are. Most of them that I just read were vitamins and minerals. Some of them, like inositol, is that OL at the end. That's an alcohol. It's a sugar alcohol. Okay? And again, sugar alcohol goes right through you. That gummy bear thing I mentioned earlier on Reddit, the reason why I mentioned it and why it's so funny, those people, they ate an entire bag of gummy bears and ended up in the hospital. Why? Because they were shitting themselves to death. They were so incredibly dehydrated because they had atomic diarrhea from all the sugar alcohol that they consumed from all of those sugar-free gummy bears, and they were dehydrated and had to go to the hospital. Now, I'm not drinking 10 of these a day. I'm drinking one every other day with my coffee. Okay? So one of these every other day is not going to give me so much erythritol that I'm shitting my brains out. All right? In addition, the only thing in these that are bad for you is if you have too many of them and you get too high of a caffeination, which I don't. I keep it very low on purpose because I did overdrink these when I was in school and getting about 3 or 4 hours of sleep every night because I needed 2 or 3 of these to stay awake as well as 4 or 5 cups of coffee. It was bad. But aside from over-caffeinating by having too many of these, the only thing you have to worry about is there is citric acid, and usually there's some form of lemon pulp in these. This one doesn't seem to have a lemon pulp, but this one has citric acid in it. You're like, oh, the acidity. Oh, that's so bad for you, right? Same people who go out and say the alkaline water is good for you. If anybody tells you that alkaline water is good for you, or that the acidity in foods is bad for you, punch them in the mouth, throw them out a window off the Golden Gate Bridge, because they don't know what the fuck they're talking about. I'll give you an example. Every single day you consume dihydrogen monoxide. Do you know what dihydrogen monoxide is? Let's break down the word. Di, 2, hydrogen, hydrogen, H, okay? 2H, H2, right? Dihydrogen, H2. Mono, 1, oxide, oxygen, 1O, O1, H2O. Dihydrogen monoxide, dihydrogen monoxide is H2O, water. And you drink that every fucking day of your life. That is the chemical name for water. All the chemicals in this, all the chemicals in your food and everything else you drink, you're constantly eating and consuming and drinking chemicals of some sort. Do not freak out because you don't know what a chemical name means. Everything in this is fine. One exception. Take a drink. Now there's citric acid in your mouth. Take some water. Switch it around and you neutralize the acid. Now, why does alkaline water do nothing for your health? Why does acidity in your drinks do nothing for your health? Because once you swallow that and it goes into your stomach's pH is so incredibly low and so incredibly acidic, there is nothing on this planet that you can drink or eat that is considered edible that is a higher acidity than the pH of the acid in your stomach. Meaning whatever you drink or eat goes into your stomach will bring that item, that food, that drink, to its level of acidity, and it will degrade, it will decompose, and your body will take it through the small intestine and absorb it. So that is why acidity and alkaline do not fucking matter. Anybody who says it is wrong, and you can tell them to eat your balls. Especially women. Please tell people to eat your balls. I am a firm believer that women should tell people to suck their dick and lick their nuts. Anyway, without going too far on that tangent, I know a lot about food. I have 2 bachelor's degrees in food and nutrition and dietetics. And even before that, I had an intense interest in food because of bodybuilding. I was fascinated with it from the time I was 16, 17 years old. Back then, all I wanted was abs. Now, it's a little bit more than that. But, again, I'm constantly learning more and more, not only about my body, but about food, nutrition, and exercise as a whole. It's an entire system, and everybody is different. I want to give another very, very personal, very specific example. I told you how I eat the same thing every day. When I don't, there's a very particular change that happens. When I stick to my beef meals, my turkey meals, my yogurt, my oats, and my cream of wheat, and then my ramen, when I stick to that, and I don't change it, it's anywhere from 3,000 to 3,800 calories a day, 6-7 meals. You would think I'd be taking some massive shits, right? Wrong. When I eat like that over the course of days, weeks, and months without any change, and I mean no alcohol, and I mean no candies, no cheat meals, nothing, and I stick to that, I have the smallest little poops. And sometimes I'll go a whole day without pooping. It's not because I'm constipated. I'll go a whole 36 hours, and then I'll poop, and it'll be really small. Never have any difficulty, and it's always the same consistency, always the same color. Why? Because my body has become very efficient at absorbing the food that I'm eating. It's very accustomed to it, and there's fiber, but not a lot. Okay? So, when I have a meal like I did yesterday, where I completely change everything, and I have that giant Easter brunch, guess what happens the next morning? I shit my fucking brains out. Now, it's not diarrhea. It's not just straight liquid or toothpaste shooting out of my anus. No, no, no. It is just a bigger poop. Same color, same consistency as the normal ones I have, just bigger. Why? Because my body is not accustomed to that food, and it will not absorb it all. Your body caters to what you give it. And the reason why I can have anywhere from 3,300 to 3,900 calories in a day and not put on a bunch of weight is because of my activity levels over time, my muscle mass accumulated over time. My body has needs. That amount of calories is perfect to maintain where I currently am. Some days it's 3,000 calories, some days it's nearly 4,000. But the idea is by the end of the week, with that average, I can maintain my weight with the cardio and the weight training that I do. Not to mention just moving around at work as a personal trainer where I am constantly moving, showing people how to do exercises, putting weights on machines, off machines, taking dumbbells on and off the racks, demonstrating movements. I am moving a lot throughout the day. Routinely, I will get between 13,000 14,000 steps without even trying, with zero cardio. Add in some cardio, I'm getting upwards of 20, 22,000 steps. Easily. And I only work for 4 to 6 hours a day, 7 days a week. I don't take days off, particularly so I can have mornings like this to myself. Monday, Wednesday, Friday mornings for myself. Tuesday, Thursday, Saturday, Sunday mornings I work, and then I have the evenings to myself, and the afternoon for the most part. Currently, I only work out 5 days a week. This week is a deload week, and so I'm at half speed on all my workouts, meaning about half the reps, half the weights. But on my days off, instead of actually having a day off, I'm going to do some aerobic circuits, because this week is meant for recovery. So nothing crazy hard, but I really want to stay moving, get the blood flowing, feel good, get my joints feeling right. So as you can tell, there's a lot that goes into this. But this isn't where I started. God, I'll get memories from Facebook or my phone telling me, oh, here's a picture from 6 years ago. And it'll be a meal that I had when I was about to work out or after my workout. And I'll look at that meal and I'm like, oh my God, that used to be so much food. Now I look at it, it's not much at all. That's one of my 5 to 7 meals. It's not a big deal. So over time, I have incremental progress for myself. Now the segue. How do I take all of that and use it to become a better personal trainer? Well, for one, I don't do anything with my clientele that I haven't done myself. Now, there are exceptions. For instance, I will never be vegan, most likely. However, I do know through experience how to help vegan clientele. So on and so forth. Okay? It's interesting to me. Everything I just mentioned with all the eating, the nutrition, and the bodybuilding, that's all stuff that interests me. There's a whole realm of food and nutrition, exercise, and rehabilitation that interests me, even outside of bodybuilding. And that's where this becomes very, very fruitful, and it behooves me in my personal training as a career. So my overall credentials, I have 10 or 11 certifications. I don't know. I don't care. I let the fucking things expire because they're useless. Anybody who says they have a number of certifications and that's what they're going on for their credentials, run. Because if that's all they have, it's not worth dog shit. I would take somebody with 1 certification over somebody with 10 any day, and they'll get to why. But so I have 10 or 11 certifications because I wanted to be well-rounded when I first started training over 10 years ago. Then I got an associate's degree in occupational studies with a specificity in advanced personal training. After that, I got my double bachelor's degree in food and nutrition and dietetics. And then I graduated in August of 2020 with my master's degree from Miami University in kinesiology with a specificity in exercise science. Now, I have a lot of credentials, and I have to say, they mean mostly nothing. They mean mostly nothing. Those degrees taught me a few things. One, the higher education system is fucking broken, because I know some people that I graduated with that are dumb as shit. They're out there doing what they're supposed to. A lot of them became dietitians, and they're trying to be Instagram influencers as dietitians, and the stuff they're peddling honestly doesn't work. And the reason is because the American Dietetics Association still references data from the late 80s into early 90s as law and protocol for what a lot of these dietitians are supposed to do. And if they try to reference current research last 3 to 5 years, but it doesn't line up with the American Dietetics Association's protocols, they can lose their licensure. This is why I didn't get my dietetics license and why I don't go and work for a hospital. The other reason I don't do that is because I went to a hospital, I will not list the hospital, and I asked the director of dietetics, hey, when do you get a follow-up with your patients? And she looked at me like I had 7 heads. She asked me to repeat the question, and I did, and she said she didn't understand the question. And I said, okay, let's say you have somebody who just got diagnosed with type 2 diabetes. You come into the room, and you spend 10 or 15 minutes explaining to them their new life as a type 2 diabetic. Here's what they can do to treat their symptoms, on top of the medication and other sort of prescription prevention or prescription interventions that their doctor prescribed them. Here's some brochures, some information, some websites, When do you get to see that person again to see how their life has progressed with type 2 diabetes? And the dietetics director looked at me and said, you don't. And I said, I'm sorry, what? She goes, you have 300 beds in this hospital that you have to go around and see patients for every single day, and you are one of 6 dietitians on staff. You do not have time for follow-ups. I said, oh. And then I decided I didn't want to be a dietitian because you are treating problems, not preventing them, not reversing them. No, no, no. You are there to effectively ensure that people stay sick, but try not to let them get sicker, which inevitably means they will get sicker, which means they will get worse and they will degrade over time. I am not here for that. I am here to help prevent diabetes, amongst many other things, and I am here to help people become better in their life, become better with their health, their nutrition, their exercise, their joint pains, whatever it is. I want their quality of life to improve, not sustain and inevitably get worse as they age. No, no, no. I want to increase their longevity. So that's why I didn't become a dietitian. I went and did a master's because I was like, well, what else am I going to do if I'm not going to be a dietitian? There's not much you can do with a 4-year degree in dietetics unless you're a dietitian. Got my master's degree and think, oh, okay, I'll be able to go and do a bunch of stuff. Well, 300 applications later, which I've stated many times on this podcast, didn't get me shit. 6 months and over 300 job applications, and nothing was available. Yes, it was during a global pandemic. I get that. However, said, fuck it, leaned into the personal training, which I've been doing anyway for the better part of the last 11 years. So, why am I uniquely qualified to be a trainer? Well, it's the only thing I've ever done, for one. All of my schooling has built I'd say a well-rounded foundation of education. And then the fact that I worked throughout all of that schooling allowed me to apply those new ideas that the school gave me to figure out what does and doesn't work. Because, spoiler alert, a lot of what they teach you in school, in theory, works great. In application, people are very individual. People are very unique. And what may work for person A may work for person C, but not B, D, E, F, or G. And so you have to get to know the person. It is called personal training for a reason. It's a very personal process. So you better treat every person as if they're an individual, because they are. And if you try to cookie cut and give everybody the same tilapia and broccoli plan, you're not going to be very successful. Yeah, you'll get a few people that'll follow that, but I guarantee most of them are going to fall off and revert back to where they were, or even worse. This is why The Biggest Loser was such a fucking shit show, and I can't stand the people on that show, particularly the trainers. The trainers on that show fucking sucks. You will not eat a single carb. Oh, fuck you. I can't stand most trainers on TV and social media. And the reason is simple. They want your money. They will tell you, for $19.95 and a short time offer, oh, I only have a few slots open for this limited period, ba 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 ba. If you advertise yourself like that, if a trainer is advertising, well, for a limited time offer, you can come train with me for X amount of dollars a month, blah, 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 run. They are bullshit. They are fucked. They will give you a cookie cutter program that they give everyone else, copy paste, here you go, that's a custom program. No, no, no. They are shit. Run in the opposite direction. Do not go to that person. Anybody who puts all kinds of links for supplements and all these other things trying to sell you something, fucking run. What you want is somebody who gives you free information. One of the people I think does this best is Hypertrophy Coach or Lane Norton. Those two, highly educated. Hypertrophy Coach, I think, has a master's degree. If not, he definitely has a bachelor's in exercise science. And then Lane Norton has a PhD in nutrition, in particular in protein synthesis. Both of them have done bodybuilding, and both of them look the part. They aren't fat trainers, and they both have their own websites, they have their own apps, and they have their own programs that they built themselves to individualize the process to you. Now, there's a little bit of a system involved in that process, but the way the system works is it caters to what you need as an individual and can help them customize en masse. That is a good program. Me, I have no interest in doing something like that. I have interest in creating something that is more palpable for the average population. There's been an app I've been working on for a while now. Whether or not it gets done, I don't know, and I don't really care. But it'll be free. It'll offer very basic guidelines for exercise that will allow people to just do small things in their day-to-day life, just at their house, no equipment necessary. Very, very simple logging tools, very, very simple workouts with cues that, okay, this is for the average Joe and Jane. This is for the average person that just wants to be a little more active. That's all I'm concerned with. I'm not concerned with reinventing the wheel. In terms of my actual clientele, here's my mission statement. I want my services to become luxury rather than necessity. What does that mean? It means I want every single one of my clientele to become self-sustaining in the lifestyle behaviors that I teach them. That they can walk into a gym and rather than be intimidated, they know exactly what to do. They know what weights to choose, what reps to do, how many sets to go about doing, and how much their rest time should be. How long they should do cardio for, how intense they should do cardio for, whether they do it before or after their workout, whether they do it separate from their workout later or before in the day. That's the stuff I want them to be able to figure out on their own. And if they choose to continue working with me after they hit that point, it's a luxury, something they choose to do. That's my mission statement. I want them to come to me because they like working with me, not because they have to, because they're still in pain, they're not losing weight, they're doing all these things with me because they can't do it on their own. Now, one caveat, because I see 4 utilities of a trainer. The first and biggest one is accountability. That is the number one reason people come to see me. I'll use a good example. I have a client, she's been with me for 5.5 years. She can do every single thing I tell her to do in the gym without issue. Meaning, she can come in, she has a book, I write out everything in her book. All right, here you go. She will do all of it, no issues. She knows what to do, she knows the rest times, she knows how many reps, all of it. She knows every exercise by name, no issues, never has to ask me a question, she's good. Comes in 5 times a week. I went on vacation in 2019 for 1 week. It's the only vacation I took in all of my 20s. She, as well as 2 of my other clients, wanted to get together and work out 3 times that week. Want to know how many times they worked out? Once. And they went back in the book to find an old workout that they did previously so they could know what to do. The accountability aspect gets most of my clientele in the gym because otherwise they will not fucking go or will not show up. That's fine. But this client I just mentioned, she knows how to do everything. She knows what she should be doing. She knows what she could be doing. But she chooses to do what she does based on her quality of life. A good example, she fucking loves chocolate. She loves chocolate. She's also vegan. So, chocolate is her crux. Now, in my opinion, she looks great. Her weight is, she's in the upper percentile for her age group. She is doing wonderfully with her weight. She's strong. She feels better now than she did in her fucking 20s. She's great. She's in her early 60s, by the way. She's stronger now in her early 60s than she was in her 20s, okay? She came to me for back problems. 0 back pain nowadays. 0. She had a horrible car accident many, many, many years ago. Terrible back injuries, terrible back surgeries, always in pain. Now she's not. She stopped seeing me for 2 weeks. When she goes on vacation, I give her things to do while she's gone because then the back pain comes back if she stops doing the exercises. So this stuff is important. Now, she would love to lose 5 pounds. But she likes chocolate just a little bit too much. You see what I'm saying? She knows what to do. But if she chooses not to, it's not because she has no choice. No. It's the luxury. The luxury of having me to work with her and the luxury of having chocolate in her diet. She chooses those things because she likes them. She likes to come in and work with me so she can just mindlessly go about the workout that I came up with for her, rather than forcing herself to go to the gym on her own and come up with her own workouts, or even just go back to the ones we've done previously in her many books, because she has 6 or 7 books full of exercises by this point. She could go back and just look at those, and she's set, but she doesn't want to do that. So she has the luxury of coming to work with me. She could also abstain from having chocolate, but she likes chocolate. She doesn't want to take it out of her day-to-day life. With many of my male clients, it's drinking. They refuse to take alcohol out of the diets. With some of my moms that I train, they refuse to take wine out of their diets, and that's fine. So rather than focus on weight loss, because they don't want to lose the weight, because they don't care to lose the weight, I focus on their quality of life. Their joints are healthy, they're strong, they're stable, and they're healthy. You can, in fact, be overweight and still maintain good markers of health when you get your blood drawn, whether or not your joints hurt, and so on. My whole thing on this, there is a small glimmer of truth to this whole healthy at any size, body positivity movement. There's a glimmer of truth to it. If you're 500 pounds, I don't care what the fuck you do, you are unhealthy. I am sorry, but you are unhealthy. If you want to be 500 pounds, fine, be 500 pounds. I am not going to tell you what to do. I am not here to get into this whole fat shaming, body positivity healthy at any size movement. That is not what I'm here for. I am here to work with people who want to be worked with, period. I am not here to try and persuade you otherwise. But what you can do is you can do what Lizzo did. Lizzo lost several, I don't know, she lost like 4 or 5 pounds on a juice cleanse. People gave her shit, and it pissed her off. She said, fuck you. I'm going to do what I want because it's my body. Good for you, Lizzo. I respected her from that day forward. And so she started exercising a lot. Because why? She wanted to perform on stage. When she was doing concerts, she wanted to do the splits. She wanted to jump around. She wanted to be, going, go. That's what she wanted to do. She wanted to be active and performative on stage while doing her concerts, okay? So what does she do? She starts exercising. Loses maybe, I don't know, 20 pounds. I have no idea how much weight she lost, but she lost a little bit of weight. But she's still very overweight by 80, 100, 120 pounds. She's probably over 300 pounds still, okay? Lizzo, if by any chance you ever see this, I am sorry if that's wrong. But the point I'm trying to make here is she lost a very small amount of weight just through exercise, still eats whatever she wants, I'm sure, whatever. I don't know, I'm speculating. My point is she did not lose 100 pounds. She did not change her eating dramatically to lose a bunch of weight. No. She maybe didn't even change her eating, but she started moving more because she wanted to perform. That was her goal. So she can drop it like it's hot, ass to grass, jump up and around on stage. Her knees are strong and stable. Her ankles, her hips, her back, her shoulders, all of her joints are strong and stable. They can support her on a day-to-day basis. And because of that, and because of the activity she gets, she is way healthier than she was before when she was not doing all of that. Yes, she's still overweight. Yes, she still has weight she could lose. Yes, she could be healthier. But that's not everyone's goal. Just like my clients who don't want to kick the alcohol, just like my client that doesn't want to kick the chocolate, everybody has their own set point for what they will be happy with. And that is what's key. And that's what is custom to the person. And that's why if you want to be a trainer, I tell every wannabe trainer, you need to be okay with what your client wants. Some of them don't want to lose 100 pounds. Some of them just want to maintain their health with that higher weight because they don't want to go through the sacrifice that would involve losing 100 pounds. They don't want to stop eating all the food that they want. They don't want to stop drinking all the alcohol they want to drink. They want to continue that lifestyle, but they don't want the deleterious effects of doing it unchecked. So they're coming to you as a trainer to keep them a modicum a bit more healthy. Plain and simple. Now me, being so anal about my own personal routine, I try to be just as anal in helping people identify their routine and what they like. I make it a point to understand what all goes into everything this person does. I ask them what their job is. I ask them whether they sit and stand all day. Do they have a standing desk? Do they have one of those walking treadmills underneath their desk? Do they sit in fluorescent lighting all day? Do they have access to sunlight and vitamin D? Do they have access to breaks? Do they eat lunch on their breaks? Or do they actually not eat lunch, skip lunch, and then just work through their break? Do they work from home? Do they work in the office? Do they have an hour drive commute? Do they have a 5-minute drive commute? Do they go home and they have kids at home? Do they go home and they're single? Do they go home to a supportive spouse that'll cook all their meals for them? I look at all of these things. Are they sleeping? Are they not sleeping? Do they smoke a lot of weed? Do they not smoke any weed? Do they drink a lot? Do they not drink a lot? What's their tolerance with weed and alcohol? Do they do meth for fun? I don't know. I'm trying to figure out what this person's day-to-day routine is so that I can identify with them, what are you willing to change, and what goals do you have in reference to that? One of the questions I always ask is, what is your expectation with 1 year from now? What is the routine you would like to have? Not what body weight you want to have. No. That is too abstract. Because I have people who lose 20 pounds when they wanted to lose 15, and they still want to lose more because they don't like how they look. The number on the scale is abstract as fuck, and you cannot see what you will inevitably look like. Particularly because if you lost 20 pounds 10 years ago, and you lose 20 pounds now, it's going to look a lot different now than it did back then because you are in a different place in your life. But inevitably, here's what happens. People get sick of their own bullshit and make a change. And until that happens, there is no amount of information I can provide them that is going to allow them to change that. No matter what program, what protocol, what exercise, what nutritional tip or protocol I put them on, if they are not willing to change, they will not do it. Period. Just like if you're doing an intervention with somebody who is addicted to heroin. If they do not want it for themselves, they will not do it. Plain and simple. So you cannot force people. So again, to the new trainers out there, it is extraordinarily important that you understand you will not get successful before and afters of 100% of your clientele, and that does not reflect poorly on you as a trainer, provided you communicate with them two ways. Hey, are you all right with this? Most of them will say yes. The majority of my clientele are female between the ages of 45 and 75. That is the majority of my clientele. I have very few people under the age of 35. But I'm getting more and more because as the generations go, we're getting more and more unhealthy. But that's a taste. That is a taste of my life and the two pieces of my life that are most important to me, bodybuilding and personal training. I will do another video on personal training in the future because there are a lot of tropes in personal training I cannot fucking stand. Like how I see a lot of trainers who try to reinvent the wheel, where they'll have somebody doing curls while they hop up and down on one leg on a Bosu ball or something stupid like that, or anything that fucking comes out of Joel Seedman. Fuck that guy. There are people who try to reinvent the wheel, and I operate under a very simple principle. KISS. Keep it simple, stupid. Keep it simple, stupid. KISS is what most people should worry about in all aspects of life, from finance to family to your health. Keep it simple, stupid. Why? It's already hard enough as it is to make these changes. Why you gotta make it more complicated and more hard? Why make that more difficult? Some trainers, they want to be unique, and so they want to try and reinvent the wheel. Well, we've known what's worked now for over a century. Stick to that shit. Some weight training, some cardio, and some dietary changes. Making sure your stress management is under control so you're getting a good night's sleep and you're recovering from your workouts or from your stressful day job. That's about it. You know, if you want to go further, you can play therapist and make sure that the person's emotional connections are doing well because they're communicating and making sure that they're being heard and that what they're communicating is being comprehended with their partners, friends, and family. If you want to go that far, sure you can. Look up some of my previous videos. You might get some more out of that. But until then, you're their trainer first. Make sure that what they're doing in the gym is correct. I can't tell you how many times I see trainers working with a client, and the client wants to go heavier and heavier and heavier, and the trainer's like, yeah, man, sure, go, go, go. And all of a sudden, they're doing 400 pounds, and they're doing a fifth the range of motion. They aren't even going remotely close to the full range of motion of that movement, and they're fueling their client's ego rather than keeping their client's ego at bay. You, as a professional, you as a trainer, should be there to curb the ego of your clients, particularly when the client says, I think I can go heavier, and you know for a fact that they look like a hissing cat bending over into that deadlift, about to break their fucking spine in half. But you're sitting there going, yeah, sure, if you feel like you can go heavier, you can go heavier. Fuck you, fuck you, fuck you, fuck you. I can't stand when trainers are sitting there watching their clients do complete fuck shit and say nothing. And then make it worse by adding the weight because the person goes, yeah, I think I could do it. The client does not know what you know. And if you don't know, you shouldn't be fucking training. Do what's best for your clientele. Do not fuel your ego. Do not fuel theirs. Do what's best for them. It's very similar to the Hippocratic Oath that most doctors take to do no harm. If somebody is getting hurt or, God forbid, dies under your supervision, fuck you, get out of this industry. That part has more to do with the PEDs, performance-enhancing drugs, and why it will have nothing to do with it. But again, I mentioned earlier I would talk about it, but this video is already running long. I'll hit that in another video if you want to know about it. Just mention it in the comments. It's called personal training because you're meant to consider the person. Because you are dealing with their body. Doesn't get more personal than that. And that's what matters. Take a step back and assess yourself. Don't get caught in these habits and just assume you know best. Accept the feedback from your clients and accept the feedback from fellow trainers if they give it to you. It's rare. I rarely say anything to other trainers because I'll see fuck shit all the time because people don't want to be solicited for your advice and they don't want to be corrected because they get very defensive. But if somebody gives you feedback, fucking listen to it. That being said, bodybuilding and personal training are my life. I adore these things, and I will do everything I can to continue to improve incrementally over time, both for myself in the bodybuilding and with my clients as a trainer. That's what I'm here for, and that's what I will continue to do for the rest of my life. That is never going to change. Even if I retire someday, I will keep doing this shit. But I've ranted on enough. We'll bring this episode to an end. And I've been Norman. I've been a dude. This is some shit that I've been talking about. I hope you enjoyed it. Happy Monday. If you live in Ohio, enjoy the snow we're getting on April 18th after Easter. The fuck? But thank you for listening, and I'll see you guys next week. Deuce Magoose.
It's time to put hard times behind. Get all the bad things off your mind. He's feeling good, she's feeling good, we're feeling good, yeah. Just hanging out, just having fun, we're number one. Just hanging out, just having fun. I'm a dude, he's a dude, she's a dude, we're all dudes, hey. I'm a dude, he's a dude, she's a dude, we're all dudes, hey. There's nothing better than your friends, there's no problem, you can't win. Someone that's always got your back, not caring about this or that. Just hanging out, just having fun, we're number one. Just hanging out, just having fun. I'm a dude, he's a dude, she's a dude, we're all dudes, hey. I'm a dude, he's a dude, she's a dude, we're all dudes, hey. I'm a dude, he's a dude, she's a dude, we're all dudes, hey. I'm a dude, he's a dude, she's a dude, we're all dudes, hey. It's all about meeting new faces. The smiles on your face and you can't erase it. Partying on, it's going on, huh? Partying on till the break of dawn. Oh, it's time to put hard times behind. Get all the bad things off your mind. Just hanging out, just having fun. We're number one. Just hanging out, just having fun. Just hanging out, just having fun. We're number one. I'm a dude, he's a dude, she's a dude. We're all dudes.